the best camera you can own is already in your pocket. You've probably heard this line from your favorite influencers before, and it's true. But just because you've got the best camera doesn't necessarily make you a master at it. So give me the next few minutes and I'm going to take you through everything you need to know and do to become a master at using your smartphone camera. So welcome to how to master your smartphone camera and everything you need to know. Let's get this into focus, shall we? The first thing you need to know about taking better pictures on these is lighting, or in photographer talk, exposure. No, I'm not going to ask you to go and buy some lights. By exposure, I mean the amount of light that hits your camera sensors to light up your image. Now, most people don't touch this. They'll grab their phone, open the camera, take the picture, and then wonder why the picture looks so much different to how it really was. But we're going to fix that right now. The easiest way to control exposure on almost any phone is to tap your subject to set your focus. Then you'll see a small sun icon will appear beside the focus point. Drag that up to brighten the image, drag it down to darken it, and that's it. Manual exposure controls without using any complicated measures. But what do you even expose for? The subject, the background, the entire image? A good rule of thumb is to expose for the extremes. That is the highlights and the shadows. You want your shadows dark, but not pitch black. You still need some information. And you need your highlights to be bright, but not nuclear. You should try your best to get into that sweet spot where you can get everything perfectly exposed, but if not, it is okay, and we'll get to that in a second. And usually, your subject will fall right in. Think of it like adjusting the volume to your favorite song. You want it to be loud enough to be able to listen to all the instrument, but not so loud that you can only hear the loudest one. But what if you're shooting a landscape and there is no sweet spot? The sky looks incredible, but the landscape looks super dark. Or vice versa. That is where RAW kicks in. And that takes us to step 2. By the way, speaking of steps, if you've been on this channel for a little while, you'll notice that I'm recording in a completely different place. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new studio. And the next step for this channel, naturally, is to build a studio, but not just by myself, but with you guys. So I'm transforming this place into my ultimate YouTube studio. I'm gonna have an entire series on it, and I'm gonna be building the studio using your help. I'm gonna be taking recommendations from you guys, and we're gonna build this whole thing together. The money's gonna be mine, but hey, as long as there's nothing stupid in there, well, sometimes a little stupid doesn't go bad. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on that. Okay, back to it. Shooting RAW. Now, shooting RAW means that your phone's pictures will usually store a lot more data than the natural JPEG that it shoots in by default. Now, a JPEG is compressed and processed directly within your phone's camera, and what you see is basically what you get. You've got no room for flexibility. A RAW image, on the other hand, captures a lot more data, especially in the highlights and the shadows, so you can tinker with it later on in case you miss a little bit. The file sizes are slightly bigger, but trust me, it's worth it. Practically, if you slightly over or underexpose an image and you try and put it back with a RAW file, you'll be able to get a lot of that image back. But try that with a JPEG and you get absolutely nothing. Like for landscapes, for example, shoot for what holds the most weight. If you're trying to show the sky, expose for that. If you're trying to show the landscape, expose for that. And then in the edit, you can pull down a blown out sky, or you can pull up the shadows from your landscape. It's just that easy, and it's a lifesaver. And don't worry, we'll go into the editing side of things a little bit more later on. Now, just bear in mind, the amount of data you can recover from a RAW image depends on the kind of sensor and the size of the sensor that your phone uses. Your megapixels will just go out the window. That does not matter as much as you might think. So let's enable RAW. On an iPhone, look for Apple Pro RAW or RAW in your camera format settings. On Android, it's usually in Pro mode or the camera format options. Turn it on and thank me later. And you're ready for RAW power. Terrible pun, I know. Now, let's get on to using Pro mode. Now, I know the moment you open Pro mode, it's gonna look like you're in a cockpit. You've got too many sliders and dials to adjust, and all of a sudden, you feel like you need a photography degree just to take a picture of your lunch. Don't worry, there's only 3 settings. I'm gonna break it down for you, make it super easy. So let's get into it. The first one is ISO. This controls how sensitive your sensor is to light. Now, bear in mind, a smaller number does mean a darker image, but it also means a sharper and a clearer photo. A higher number will give you a brighter image, but watch out for that digital noise because it can creep in and completely ruin your shot. The rule of thumb is to keep your ISO as low as possible. If you're shooting in bright daylight, ISO 100 or ISO 50 is going to be your best friend. But if you're in a dark environment, You can bump the number up, but just keep an eye out for that digital noise. The second one is shutter speed, and this is how long your sensor is exposed to light for. So faster shutter speed means your motion is frozen in time, but you do get a darker image. But quite the opposite, on a slower shutter speed, you get more light. But anything that moves in your frame will get blurred, including your hands. For moving subjects, go faster. For darker static scenes, go slower. But rest your phone on something solid. Otherwise, your shot will look like modern art, and that's not always a vibe. And if resting it on something solid is not always an option, there's a smarter way to hold your phone, and we will get into it a little bit later on. Number 3 is your aperture. This is the size of the opening in front of your camera lens that lets light in. Now there's an important caveat here. A lot of phones back in the day used to use variable apertures, which you could physically see on the lenses of your phone whenever they changed. But now, no phone usually uses it. There are still some Xiaomi's out there, but a lot of the phones out there are still using a virtual aperture, which still pretty much does the same thing, but it tries to achieve the effect more digitally. But it does the same thing. So weirdly, a smaller f number means a bigger opening, which means more light can be let in, and a bigger number means a smaller opening, which means less light can be let in. But keep in mind, a smaller number, which means a bigger opening, will not only let in more light, but it will also give you more background blur, aka bokeh. And trust me, there's a lot of other ways where you can play with bokeh, and if your phone does not have this setting, don't worry. Usually, bokeh relies on one thing and one thing alone, and that is the amount of distance between your main subject and the background. You see, when you've got a smaller opening, which means less light hitting in, all the light around you can hit the sensor at one particular angle, or not one particular angle, but very few variations of the light rays, and that means everything is in focus. The moment you open up that ring and the ring becomes bigger, or your aperture number becomes smaller, you introduce a lot more variation for the light to travel through and hit your sensor. So the moment you focus on your subject which is close to the camera, the leftover light rays are going to hit the back of the sensor in all sorts of ways, giving you that bokeh. That is how bokeh works on everything out there. Your digital cameras, mirrorless cameras, DSLR cameras, and phones. It's optics, people. It's not magic. Pro mode also gives you white balance. Slide warm for yellowish orangish tones and slide cooler for coolish bluish tones. Or it could also be used in a pretty interesting way to just balance out the lights that you're using artificially, like this indoor lighting solution. You can also use it to set a deliberate mood. And another thing that could be quite handy in Pro mode is manual focus, just in case your autofocus is hunting about a bit too much and it just can't get focus on the main subject. So we're using Pro mode because automatic is like using an automatic car wash. There's nothing wrong with it, but you're better than that. Alright, so now you know everything there is to know about exposure and lighting in general. But this is not everything. I would say this is more about 45% of the story. The rest of the 45% is composition. And yes, I chose these numbers deliberately. You'll find out why. Okay, now bear in mind, with composition, there are no strict rules, only ideas. So let me take you through some of my favorite ideas. But before we do that, just turn on your grid lines. Grid lines will give you a rule of thirds in a screen. That's a 3x3 grid over your entire viewfinder, and you can place a subject on any one of these 4 intersection points. Now you can still keep them dead center, but those 4 intersection points are usually where your eyes would naturally lead to. Now dead center does work, product photography absolutely loves it, but keeping a subject on one of those intersections is almost always going to be more dynamic. The grid also helps to keep your phone absolutely straight and line up the horizon. A crooked horizon is one of the most common and the easiest to fix mistakes in photography. So use the lines so you get no more crooked seas and landscapes. If any of this is clicking for you so far, and I hope it is, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. More videos like these are coming and I do not want you to miss them. Okay, back to it. Okay, so try this. My favorite, low to high angle. So kneel down, try and go past your subject and point your camera upwards. This makes buildings, monuments, and even people look powerful and dramatic. If you do the opposite and go high to low, you of course get the more opposite effect. You can also go dead center and be perfectly level with your subject, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just makes the subject more vulnerable, more honest, and which is why product photography and corporate headshots absolutely love this. Now look, I know holding your phone at weird angles for prolonged periods of time can be quite weird feeling and honestly quite uncomfortable, and this is why proper cameras out there have grips. But with your smartphones, there is a solution to that. But we'll get to that right after these basics. Okay, for my favorite composition trick, and you have to try this, just add a foreground element. You've got your subject, you've got your background, but I would say put something between your camera and the subject, creating a third plane of focus. Something that is usually put to one of the sides of your screens and not covering the actual face of your subject, unless they owe you money. Something slightly offside, out of focus, and if you combine that with the rule of distance to get more bokeh, so add a lot of distance between the subject, the foreground, and the background, the image you get is basically as close as it gets to cheating in photography. Last but not the least, try using reflections. So I'm talking puddles, mirrors, maybe even a different phone to get some reflection on there. Always works. Reflections add a point of visual interest to your photos and they automatically make your pictures look 10 times more dynamic. Honestly, there's no end to the creativity you can get access to once you've got reflections, puddles, mirrors, or other sort of reflections in your pictures. You can just keep going. Any phone, any camera. Okay, now you know how to use your phone's camera like a pro. You know how to shoot in RAW, you know how to use your manual mode, and you've also gone over composition. But that was only 90% of it. What about the remaining 10%? We're gonna get into the editing side of things. And don't worry, this is not going to be a 2-hour Lightroom tutorial. We're gonna go over what you absolutely need and the rest will just fall into place. Trust me. You can use apps like Lightroom, VSCO, or Snapseed for this, but before you touch a single exposure slider, we have something else to do. You need to straighten the picture. Fix the angle in your crop tool, then tighten the frame just a little bit. Now you need to do this first because a lot of the times cropping later on can be counterproductive and you do not want to waste your time. So straighten your photo, get a good frame, and now we can get cracking. Now we fix the exposure. Highlight sliders to pull back a blown sky, shadows to lift the dark areas without blowing out everything else, and whites and blacks for the extremes. This is exactly why we shorten RAW. Remember, you get so much more of that data to play with. Color temperature is next. Too warm and too yellow, slide cooler. Too cold and too blue, slide warmer. For a natural look, find something that is supposed to be gray or white in your image and try and balance the image for that. Now you can use auto exposure tools as well, but just use your eyes. It is usually the best thing you can trust. And one pro editing tip here, once you've made these initial changes, leave your phone aside, go out for a 5-minute walk, and then come back in. The image you look at now will tell you a lot more about the image than you knew beforehand. So you can once again go into the app and make the temperature changes as you might need, and then we can get on to the next step. And the next step is to go absolutely wild. Saturation, contrast, clarity, texture. Go ahead and play with everything you can see. Try experiment with some masks out there. Try and just add a boost of color. Change the temperature slider wherever you want now that you know what your natural image is supposed to look like. There is no end to the amount of edits that you can have in a picture. There is no limits, there's no rules, only what seems right. But keep in mind, editing is like dating. You want to tweak a few things here and there and not entirely change what they are. That's a bit extreme. Just before we wrap this up, by the way, if you've got a friend who constantly cries about their phone cameras and pictures, send them this video. This might change their life. Or at least their Instagram. And while you're at it, drop a like. It helps me more than you might think it does. And once you've mastered all 3 of these basics and then genuinely become a master at your phone's photography side of things, you can then look into additional support and additional gear. Now, everything we went over, the slow shutter speeds, the extreme angles, the long sessions doing landscape photography, I know all this can be quite uncomfortable using a glass slab, which is why I'm using this. And bear in mind, this is not sponsored at all. I absolutely love this product and I believe you should know about this. The Telesin Master Grip fixes all of those issues. They send these cases out to me and I'm genuinely loving them. This is a DSLR style camera grip built specifically for the S26 Ultra and the iPhone 17 Pro. And these are the actual ones that I've been using to shoot on both of these phones for a while now. The physical shutter button, zoom dial, function key you can customize, it snaps on magnetically and takes about 2 seconds. The physical shutter button alone is a game changer for everything we've covered today. So no more camera shake from tapping on the screen, half press to focus, full press to shoot, exactly like a real camera. And there's also a 3200 mAh battery built inside, so it's charging your phone while you shoot. And it has a graphene layer that keeps the phone cool during long recording sessions. The Creator Combo Pack adds a magnetic fill light that flips around for your selfies, and it also gives you a neutral density filter that helps you shoot in extensive daylight. And trust me, you'll need that once you know what your manual settings are all about, especially in the super bright days. The links will be in the description to both of these. If you've been using your phone just barehanded by itself, nothing wrong with it, but this is the natural next step. at least in my eyes. Okay, back to it, but one more thing before we wrap up. Every phone out there has a certain set of extra features that come within your camera. So this could be multiple different lenses, astral photography mode, ocean mode, underwater photography mode, forest mode. These could be called anything in your phone. And the most important thing is that you mess around these things to find out what they do, and they will only make you a better photographer after knowing everything you've known from this video. Put all this knowledge together, go and conjure up some better images. You need to expose yourself to these tools to become a better photographer. See what I did there? And look, all the rules, tips, tricks, everything I gave you in this video, these are not set in concrete. Rules in art are meant to be broken, and you can only break the rules that you know exist. So learn the rules first, get the basics down, and then you know which ones you can deliberately break and make a difference to your pictures. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to get going. You'll have some clunkers at first, some bad shots, shaky images, a picture of your thumb, but hey, you know what? This happens when you're learning stuff. It's all completely fine, and just practice until it becomes second nature. And trust me, it will not take long. So don't be shady, hit that subscribe button, and if you like this video, give it a like. It's the only exposure I need. And with all that being said, I will catch you guys later.